So here's an interesting article on IndieWire, which is an interview by David Ehrlich, and he's talking to Neil Druckmann and Hallie Gross on the various twists and turns of The Last of Us Part 2. So here we get a little insight, not much really, into how they came up with the story and the ideas behind the characters, what they wanted to try and tell. So this was a story that was almost perfectly symmetrical, from the opening and closing shots of the guitar to the accordion-like structure. Now that, I don't know what that means. I know Druckmann was referring to accordion-like structure. Is that drama? Is that plot points? What is he referring to? The highs and lows of justice? Is it real revelation? Like, what is going on? I don't know what they're referring. I hate these diagrams of plot structure or dramatic structure as if up means good, down means bad. I don't know. So what is he referring to? I don't know. The rhymes between life in Jackson, the stadium in Seattle, the museum and the aquarium, Ellie's love of space versus Abby's fear of heights, and so on. Okay, that's an interesting way of comparing two characters. It's almost as if they're trying to show a parallel, that this is two characters who are bent on revenge, and this is their story. This is what ended up happening. Can you talk about how you wanted the two halves of the game to reflect each other? And instead of answering the question, he just talks about the first Last of Us. And then he says, you're also connected to Ellie and Joel from The Last of Us, so we put them through a very tragic event, give you one look at the quest for revenge, and then shift to Abby in order to tell a mirror story of redemption that follows the person who, by killing Joel and avenging her father, has already accomplished what Ellie is trying to do. So here we're giving the villain the story of redemption, or the story of getting some completion out of their life by ending someone's life. And then you're showing now the new journey that Ellie's on to achieve completion, to achieve this revelation or this need to alleviate the pain in their heart. And this is what is kind of interesting to me, not because this is what they set out to do, but how it ended up happening. This is reflected on a very decent post on 4chan, and it uses this technique of always showcasing the negative with Ellie and sort of a positive or more mature look with Abby. So as Ellie, through gameplay, even through story beats, you're forced to kill dogs, you're forced to kill people, and you're even there to kill, I think, a guy with who was at the murder of Joel with a knife to the neck, as well as a woman who you club to death or you beat to death with a club, essentially. Whereas with Abby, after all this occurs, you go back to your life, you have fun with dogs, you defend yourself against the scary transphobic jungle people, and you save people like children. So she has a much different outlook. And this is post-killing Joel. This is after the fact the deed has been done, so there's been this big revelation about getting this over with, moving on with your life and finding something better with the villain of the story. So that's how we're supposed to identify with this kind of character. The problem is when we see how brutal these people are. So with Abby, she takes pleasure in killing Joel. She plays this whole charade, finally capturing him, getting them to their temporary hideout and killing Joel. Even after Ellie comes by to try and stop it, and she's pleading with her, she doesn't care, and she brutalizes him in front of everyone's face. Even later in the story, Abby is smashing, I think, Dina's face in and is about to kill her with a knife to the neck. And she's like, oh, good, she's pregnant. I can't wait to kill her. And it takes Lev to shoot her in the I guess, the arm or the shoulder with an arrow to stop her from doing such a thing. So Abby is clearly much more powerful and much more villainous and evil, even though we're seeing her in certain ways of being compassionate or nice or kind. Whereas Ellie is going through trauma every time she's doing these things. Every step of the journey is very painful to her. But it's this thing she has to do, or else she wouldn't be doing it, or else she would have stopped a while ago. Why have players control Abby for a bit in Jackson before Joel's murder? We wanted the opportunity to build up empathy for her, which doesn't really work because all they're talking about is giving her reasons or showcasing how she's going to get to Joel because her little group cannot take on an entire village or an entire city. We get that she's scared of heights. Who cares? We get that she has a soft spot for Owen. Who cares? We get that are intense stakes that might drive those two people apart. Again, who cares? This should have been all about humanizing her and demonizing Joel. We should have had a flashback or an entire story of the events of The Last of Us, the ending, where Joel murders an entire hospital or what have you, and all the people in it to save Ellie. So we see the aftermath. We see how he damaged her life, how he damaged other people's lives, and what she had to live with. And her quest for revenge is so important to her, as opposed to, well, this is the logistics of trying to get to Joel. We wanted to inform all of that without you understanding that she's the prototypical antagonist. Well, you turned her into a protagonist. So I'm not sure what you were trying to do with her, because she's certainly not a prototypical antagonist. That's definitely not how you would describe Abby. In fact, I'm not even sure how you would describe her. It's strange to characterize someone like that and try to make her partially likable when realizing she's done a horrible thing. Unless you justify it, which it wasn't justified. These games are famous for how they engage with the player's agency and sense of control. The Last of Us, our alignment with Joel compels to justify his actions, and the murder of innocent people to protect Ellie. Right. In part 2, it's as if the characters are trying to wrestle control back from us. We fight Ellie, but Abby makes the decision to walk away. We fight Abby, but Ellie chooses to spare her life. And you're thinking, okay, why is Abby doing this? Why doesn't Abby just see this person as just this silly character in the way all the time? And there's that one scene where they encounter each other again, where Jesse gets killed, and they confront, and I think she has Joel's brother hostage, and she's like, listen, what the hell are you doing? Why are you wasting your life? I just gave it to you. And now we're here again. That's when they fight again. It's a strange thing to do that. We knew that some people were not going to be on board with Joel's decision at the end of the game, but we tried to make it so that even if you're not in alignment with him by the time we got there, we've hinted at what he's capable of so much that you're still on board for the ride. No, I think you understood why you did it. It was pretty clear what happened in the game. Joel wanted to save Ellie's life. There's something interesting that happens when you're not in alignment with the character, and the game makes you do something that you don't want to do. Yeah, you get pissed off. You're like, this is what I don't want. It's like the ending to Mass Effect 3. You go, that was it? Shepard, you couldn't talk to the kid? You couldn't come up with another solution? You couldn't tell the Reapers to just take a hike? You couldn't have a basic option like you would in a normal game where you could choose A, B, or C? But they want to do a linear story. But in order to do that, you have to tell it well. You wrestle with those decisions in a different way than you would be able to in a passive medium. But there's no decisions. You're not making any choices. You're not the characters on the screen. You're not controlling them to do A or B. You can only do A. And that's kill. And then when it comes to stopping Abby, not stopping Abby. Many players and most parents might have understood Joel's decision, but The Last 2 finds that Ellie herself is struggling. And that's interesting. That was the one element of the story where what did the ending of the first game mean? What does that do to Ellie? What did that do to Joel and their relationship and their friends and their lifestyle? That was one part of the story which they illuminated upon, which I thought was rather decent. Because it wasn't all just a wonderful thing. The lie that Joel told to Ellie was kind of a big deal for her. Now here's the big thing. The game's biggest plot twist is a subtle tweak in perspective. I wouldn't say subtle. I think it's pretty obvious. As we learn that Ellie has known the truth of what Joel did the whole time and chooses to seek revenge against his killers anyway, that information drives a deeper wedge between Ellie and the player. So if you showcase the reasons, even if poorly done, the reasons for Abby to kill Joel, why does that somehow negate Ellie's motivations to do the same? I don't see how that's going to detract from Ellie's motivations or her reasons or many other reasons to do so. Ellie's got survivor's guilt, I guess. I mean, she was screaming. She was going through trauma to have her stop killing Joel. She's haunted by what Abby took away from her, and also we come to realize she's haunted by what happened to her relationship with Joel. Now, this is interesting because if she's having flashbacks of Joel, and we learn about the tarnished relationship and what happened in the first game, that doesn't lend credence to itself for for Ellie to be more motivated or less motivated because of these tarnished relationship. It makes it a little bit more gray, a little less black and white. But if you're having these strange flashbacks where Joel isn't worth it anymore or less worth it, then the motivation of the plot is deteriorating. The revenge plot isn't as important. And you don't want it. You never want to have a plot deteriorate. Unless that's the whole point of the story. But when we're totally and always led to believe, through gameplay, through narration, through flashbacks, for the most part, that revenge is the goal. We need to do this. This is why all of this is happening. And if you get to that goal and don't get it, you have to have a really good climax, a really clear switcheroo or some sort of revelation where Ellie's like, okay, I can't do this anymore. It has to be spiritual. It has to be intellectual. It has to be emotional. It has to come on every angle to explain to the audience why it doesn't work. For example, I don't know if you guys remember NCIS back in the day, episode 200, episode called Life Before His Eyes, where we have this strange sort of near-death experience with Gibbs, where he has this alternate reality where he doesn't kill the murderer of his wife and kids. So Gibbs has Mike show him the future where he could not kill Hernandez and avenge his family, and is revealed that he would have left NCIS to become a broken, reclusive alcoholic who pushes away any attempts to reach out to him. Finally, he meets Shannon and Kelly, who show him a future where they have never died. Gibbs would have stayed a Marine, but would have been killed in action overseas, with 2 Marines in full dress uniform arriving at Shannon's doorstep to give her the grim news. Through this experience, Gibbs learns that he should not regret the choices he has had not made. So in this particular story, NCIS rather, Gibbs is shown, hey, if you did not seek revenge on your family's murderer, you would have wasted away. You would have been this recluse. You would not be the person you are today. You would not have helped people after that trauma. So maybe it's an American thing. Maybe it's just a moral thing. When someone has wronged you, you have to enact justice or find justice. And if you don't, it's going to be eating away at you. It's going to be gnawing away at you. And this is what we don't get from Ellie. Because if we did get it from Ellie, and those flashbacks were eating away at her, she would have absolutely no choice but to kill Abby. It would be one-sided thing. I'm going to use 2 more examples just because I think they're interesting. And there's so many other ways that stories have done this properly. In Hamlet, where Hamlet has the opportunity to kill his uncle Claudius, I believe. And he sees, this is right after he enacts this little plot to get the play within a play, the scene where we see a character kill off another character with poison in the ear or what have you. And Claudius rushes out to the chapel of Elsinore Castle, and he's praying. He's like, he's asking for forgiveness for what he has seen because it reflects what he has done to his brother and how he got the throne. And Hamlet says to himself, why this higher in salary, not revenge? Because he could easily just kill him right there. But he says that he can't just do that. He's not just some assassin. He's not just some guy with a knife. He's a prince. His now uncle is a king. What's going to happen to the kingdom? What's going to happen to his people he's with? This is not something he can just do. It's not as simple as that when you have all these things around you. And then we get into all the details of Ophelia and Laertes and Polonius and the poisons and all these things that matter, showing guilt, proving to his mother that she is equally as guilty as Claudius for doing what she's done. And what Claudius has done to usurp power from his brother and from the country of Denmark, essentially. So here we have the option for revenge to be enacted. And he's like, it's not right. This is a totally different thing, but we know that the option was there. And in the end, finally, Hamlet does eventually kill him 3 different ways: with a stab, with poison through the blade, and through poison through the chalice, the poison chalice that he originally had for Hamlet, which is very poetic and tragic, because after all of this, Hamlet does get what he wants, but he dies in the process, and we don't know what's going to happen to the world of Denmark now that the king as well as the prince are gone, as well as the queen. So a whole lot of people died in the end of Hamlet. Now, another one which just dawned on me, which I think is also very interesting, reminded me of Inigo Montoya from The Princess Bride. In A Study in Scarlet, the first Sherlock Holmes mystery, the murderer of the story is someone seeking revenge on another person who killed or took advantage of his wife and got her killed, or killed her, I think, with a broken heart. I can't exactly recall the scenario. But the way he decides to kill him, this takes like 20, 30 years for him to get all the resources to track down the person and confront them. And this was Jefferson Hope. So Hope climbed into the room through the window and gave Strangerson, that's the guy he wants to kill, the same choice of pills. And what he does is he has this box of pills. And the box of pills have some poison pills and some non-poison pills. And he says, listen, this is the fairest way I'm going to do it. You're going to take a pill, and I'm going to take a pill until one of us dies, or both of us die. And this is the game he's going to play. He's going to make it fair. It's going to be a completely random chance thing. And Strangerson is about to take part of that, and then he just freaks out, and then Hope is forced to stab him in the heart. Now, you have to understand that this character, Hope, he's spending his entire adult life tracking this guy down. And after he does this, after he has this 20-year vengeance or vendetta that he's been planning, he has no reason to live. He has no other care in the world. It's all he wanted. So when he has his aneurysm because his body just cannot take it anymore, he dies with a smile on his face. He doesn't care about what the law says. To him, all that matters is vengeance. The life he lost, the love he lost, that's all that matters. That's the only thing that can cure his heart, that can keep him from losing his mind. And it just happens that he dies as a result of that. So here we have stories from classic literature, from a murder mystery, and from a popular show on television. All who tell the story that vengeance or revenge has to be justified. Because if you don't get it, it will eat away at you. And when you do get it, you become a better person. Now, in no way am I saying this is 100% truth. This is not how we do things in reality. But this is what makes things dramatic. Because we have all the reason to hate the villain and to love the hero. Because they take justice in their own hands for good reason, not just any old reason. So I don't know how they properly understood that in The Last of Us 2. I don't see it. I may have to watch some of those cutscenes again. But you really have to embellish Abby as a hero and demonize Joel as a villain, as opposed to, just making Ellie feel bad because she has to kill people, and then suddenly she doesn't want to kill Abby anymore, even though she's the one who started this whole thing. The structure you settled on, especially that with the very first flashback, makes the game feel like it's a story of Ellie painfully coming to the point where she understands why Joel saved her and is able to forgive him, which is kind of irrelevant because Joel is dead. I think that's right, and I also think it took her 2 years to come to the place where she could even consider embracing forgiveness with Joel. Ellie's path to forgiving Abby is by far a much harder journey, and this is the strong pill that we're not swallowing. We can't get around this. This is the big problem with the story. Why does Ellie suddenly stop wanting to kill Abby? Does she even forgive her? I don't think so. I think she was just traumatized so much that when she has that flashback of Joel at the end, that causes her to stop. She just hates that negative feeling. So it's very possible you can get a sequel to this story where Abby or Ellie is completely wasted. She's a whole other character. Her entire life is shattered, and she has no idea what to do with herself because she has such regret for not killing Abby. At least that's what it sounds like. I could be wrong. I mean, these story writers aren't very creative in their attempts to chasing after revenge stories and then just dropping them at the bottom. It's just, imagine Inigo Montoya at the end of Princess Bride. It's like, I want my father back, you son of a bitch. Okay, off you go. It would just piss everyone off. It wouldn't make any sense. There would be no... you wouldn't feel happy. You wouldn't feel good that the character got what they wanted. The one thing that mattered the most to them in the entire world was vengeance, and they never got it. It would not make sense. So... reading some about this is a bit depressing. It's like they're not aware of what they're doing, and they think what they've written was in fact some great revelation of plot twists, and I don't know what an accordion story is, but it was kind of hard to get through. I'll post a link in the description if you guys want to read it. But other stories do revenge better, and I bet you know a few of them already. So be sure to vote with your wallets next time, folks. So you know what to expect from Naughty Dog the next time they come with their next game. Anywho, thanks for listening. Have yourself a great day.